There are currently over 13,000 nuclear weapons in the world, and in the late 20th century that number was closer to 70,000. So, how close has the world come to nuclear Armageddon? Well, the answer may be a lot closer than you think. Humanity's close call with nuclear Armageddon happened during the Cold War, a war fought through proxies in a great game of dare. On one side, the United States of America and its capitalist allies, and on the other side, Russia's Soviet Union and its communist allies. The proxy battleground where the world's fate would be decided was a small island just 90 miles off the coast of Florida called Cuba. In 1962, in retaliation for the US placing nuclear missiles right on Russia's doorstep in Turkey, the Soviet Union decided to assist its communist allies in Cuba by secretly installing nuclear missiles on the island. But the installations did not go unnoticed, and the Soviet Union's plans were uncovered when a US U-2 spy plane photographed the missiles on Cuban soil. This in itself almost sparked war, but clearer heads won over in the White House, and the US President John F. Kennedy instead ordered a blockade of the island to stop more missiles being installed. He also demanded the Soviets remove the existing nuclear missiles from the island. What followed were days of tense standoff between the two great superpowers. But unknown to the general public, the blockade standoff was not without incident, far from it. In response to the US blockade, the Soviets sent 4 Foxtrot-class submarines across the Atlantic from the Arctic base to Cuba. Their mission to act as a Russian vanguard was a secret known only to a small number of Soviet officials. The captains of each submarine had special permissions to act without orders from Moscow in case of attack or the outbreak of war. Normally, each submarine captain only needed the additional agreement of the political officer to fire the torpedoes. But one of the submarines, the B-59, unusually had a third officer on board. A third person required to agree before torpedoes were fired. He was the commander of the submarine fleet, and his name was Vasili Arkhipov. As they approached the blockade, the B-59 was discovered, and in an attempt to lose its US trackers, the submarine dived deeper, leaving them out of range of any possible communication with Moscow. Those in the submarine were now completely cut off from the outside world, hunted from above, and suffering from 100-degree heat caused by the submarine's broken air conditioner. The US Navy then turned up the pressure by dropping signaling depth charges in an attempt to stop the submarine breaking the blockade. Though these low-level explosive depth charges were only meant as warning shots, the captain of the B-59, Savitsky, believed they had come under attack and that war may have finally begun, and he wanted to retaliate. Normally he needed only the political officer's approval, in this case a man named Semenovich Maskenikov, but on the B-59 there was a third officer, the fleet commander Arkhipov. The captain gained the agreement of the political officer and only Arkhipov held out. But this was no normal torpedo launch that rested on Arkhipov's shoulders. The captain had written approval to use what they called the special weapon. Unknown to the US, the 4 submarines each carried a nuclear-tipped torpedo, and the captain was one person's agreement away from using it. Armageddon had never been so close, and the world was oblivious to the decision resting on one man. But Arkhipov had already experienced the dangers of nuclear power, as he was on board the ill-fated K-19 submarine. When it came within moments of nuclear meltdown, many of his fellow crew members had died from nuclear exposure. Finally, Arkhipov's calm head prevailed, and he persuaded the captain they were just warning depth charges, and that they should surface and leave the blockade. And so the nuclear torpedo was never launched, and nuclear Armageddon was averted. The B-59 returned to the Soviet Union to a less than victorious embrace. Though Arkhipov was eventually promoted to Vice Admiral, he died in 1998, possibly of complications caused by the near-nuclear meltdown aboard the K-19. Eventually, the Cuban Missile Crisis was resolved peacefully, when the Soviet Union agreed to dismantle and remove their nuclear weapons on Cuba, if the US would do the same with theirs in Turkey, though the second part of the agreement was kept secret from the public. And that was how one man stopped World War III and a global nuclear Armageddon. If you liked this video and would like to see more, please click the like and subscribe button. See you next time. Bye.